It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Come on, guys. Let's fire it up. Let's get fired up for stretch run baseball. Come on now. No?
Single-digit magic number.
It's still single-digit magic number.
It's technically still single digits. It's technically 9. Got that going for you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into what happened last night. We also have a random twin of the week that I will serve up to you guys. But late last night, well, not really even that late because it was, Cleveland time, whatever time it was, made me want to punch a hole through a wall.
That's special Cleveland time. Only Cleveland's on this time.
It's not East Coast. It's not Midwest. It's Cleveland time. KS Drywall is providing full drywall, plaster repair, popcorn ceiling, texture removal, and interior painting services. They are huge supporters of what we're doing here at SKOR North. And if you punched a hole in your wall last night after watching the end of that baseball game, call KS Drywall. KS Drywall is here to service the greater Twin Cities Metro and Western Wisconsin. Again, painting, drywall, plaster repair, popcorn ceiling, texture removal, quality craftsmanship. And they can handle anything from new construction to small emergency repairs. No job is too big or too small. Head to ksdrywall.com to schedule a free estimate. Man, I needed our place in Seattle a couple years ago. We had a couple issues in the place we were renting. And the first contractor was not great at these things. KS Drywall will not pull a fast one on you like the people in Seattle did. ksdrywall.com to schedule a free estimate.
Especially if you accidentally pound a nail into a sewage pipe.
Well, that part was definitely on old Macadac. Yeah. Not even, no, you know what, though? It wasn't. Because why are you not putting a protective board or something between the drywall and the plastic sewage pipe? You know?
I don't know.
That felt like a metaphor for the Twins bullpen last night. Why is there not a protective board between the Guardians lineup and Henriquez coming in to save the day? How did you guys... By the way, Tigers win last night, so Twins clinging to a half-game lead, but they have the tiebreaker, so technically it's a game and a half. How did the end of that game land with you guys?
I was trying to figure out who was going to pitch the bottom, because I was like, all right, Jax is unavailable, Sand's likely unavailable, Duran unavailable, and my first thought was, this is going to be a Ronnie inning, and Ronnie has been fine when asked upon in low-leverage situations, and when they only got the 2 runs, though, across, I said, I don't feel good about 2 runs across. They're going to get that first one home, and then the tying runs on, most likely, and they melted down. So the fact they have left on also, I believe, 27 runners on in 3 days worth of baseball games, and Carlos Santana, who I think left on 9 guys alone yesterday, which seems impossible to honestly do. This offense needs to score more runs, but also the Twins' self-inflicted problems of not addressing their bullpen needs is really biting them in the arse, and that one really felt. We've had 5 or 6 games in the last month that that might be the worst loss of the season. That one seems more like a season-defining loss. It really does.
I feel like what we've seen 2 of the past 3 days is, unfortunately, because there are certain people that don't deserve it, well-earned. It's well-earned. Full disclosure, I think Rocco, up until this series, has had like a really bad month stretch, some really bad decisions. But unlike most, I don't blame him here. I think I think he's done fine. I think the reality is when we are calling for, why didn't you pitch Cole Sands? Why didn't you pitch Cole? You should have brought Cole Sands in.
He's been good this season.
He's been fine. But my point is, like, we're grasping at straws. You got to have more than that. Like this is where either ownership stood in the way and didn't allow them to make deadline moves, and this is what really frustrates me, we got gaslit by Falvey and company with, well, we tried to get guys, but all the best guys were too expensive. Okay, can you get someone who's better than Trevor Richards?
Yeah.
So I think as a whole, this is well earned. They're getting exactly what they deserve. And the Tigers are a great story. The sad thing is this. if the Twins were playing competent baseball, Kansas City's really scuffling right now. They just got swept by the Tigers. So Twins are getting
Orioles too, dude.
Orioles
like they
too.
could have caught both. They could have
You're
the
right.
number one wild card spot.
100% right. But this is the word I would like to use is this. The Twins are getting their comeuppance.
Yeah, so last night when you take a 2-run lead, and we talked about this on Royce Unchained, and I'm trying to process like, wow, Carlos Correa, I was texting you guys, this dude's an alpha man, just a badass, just hasn't seen major league pitching in 2 months, rolls in right away, just starts hitting the ball, taking good at bats, drives in a bunch of runs last night, up by 2, and like, wow, Carlos Correa here to save the day. And then, much like Declan, my mind turned toward, well, who's pitching now? And we can have a Jax discussion about whether he should or shouldn't have been available he pitched back-to-back days, and this would have been a third consecutive day. But the Twins, when they ran out Henriquez and Michael Tonkin last night, and by the way, when they're running out Zebby Matthews, who pitched well a couple days ago, he started the season in A-ball.
Yep.
Simeon Woods-Richardson, who highly touted prospect who's coming into his own this year, but has not had this type of innings load, major league stretch run. Guys like David Festa, I mean, literally 60% of their rotation is dudes who are swimming in the deep end for the first time, and then relievers at the end of the game last night that are not meant to be pitching last week in September, high leverage at Cleveland. The Twins organization made those decisions in December, January, and then again on July 31st. And I agree with Judd, man. Like Rocco, there's things to nitpick. We've had arguments about Rocco on this show. But when Rocco is looking at his starting rotation and he's looking at his bullpen and he's trying to figure out which chess pieces to play, he has checkers pieces on a board and Cleveland has chess pieces, right? That's what's happening right now. So, again, the organization decided in December and January, we're going to scale back $30 million off this payroll and make it really hard to have depth. You're not going to be able to keep Sonny Gray. And then on July 31st, they decided, yeah, we're not going to add any additional resources. We're not going to make any big trade. We either don't believe that this team can go far enough, or financially, we are so strapped for adding bigger contracts that we couldn't possibly take on a few $1 million and like the 14th best prospect in the organization. They made this bed twice in the winter and on July 31st.
And when they had the comments of, well, Joe Polette had the comments of, we want to be like the Rays. Every organization should strive to be like the Rays. When you look at what Tampa and Cleveland have historically done with next to no payrolls and still figuring out ways to make effective guys, like that's a different strategy, man. And the Twins might be entering that strategy now, or they want to be entering that strategy because they physically don't have the finances anymore. That was my issue with that comment. And people love to put, Cleveland, wind tunnels, just like I like to throw out that I threw out there in June, which was a fun little thing. Cleveland wins, man. They find ways to win games. And as much as people think that they might be frauds or they're over their skis, or they're overachieving, every year here they are, middle of September, they're about to clinch a division that no one thought they could do. And the Twins have next to no answers. Like, what is the big answer for this offseason this year? If they don't have the financial ways, they're going to run back their rotation, right, with Pablo, Ober, Joe Ryan at the top. Are you going to find someone more competent in the back end? Is that really the thing that's going to push them over the top here? I just feel like they're literally against a brick wall of watching this collapse, and I don't know if there's really an answer to figure out how to fix it immediately in the offseason.
Now, here's my problem with the entire philosophy dating back to the end of 2023 season, okay? This team was riding a high. I know that they didn't win the division round, but they won a playoff series for the first time in 19 years? They were, as far as I was concerned, from a public relations standpoint, which means money, which means season tickets, fans buying tickets, fans trying to watch you, even though you make it tough. But the excitement that we all felt in the first round series here against Toronto was absolutely electric and fantastic. So you've got all of that. And you know what? If the Twins were going to take if they didn't draw at all and they were going to take a bath, the Metrodome days, okay? There was a reason why they scaled back, and it sucked. But at least you could say, well, I don't really like the Polettes for this, But from a business standpoint, like what to Declan's point about the baseball team, from a business standpoint, the question then is, how are you going to get over the hump? You're stuck in the Metrodome. You're stuck with a lot of bad things. This team, if they had just swallowed hard and said, we're not going to cut payroll, we're actually going, because we're competitive, we're good, we've got Correa. More importantly, we've got the fans back. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they projected more than 2 million in attendance. And guess what? They're going to fall well short. Why? Because they decided that the short-term television problem was worth what I consider basically gutting the opportunities that people saw. And now guess what? You're going to lose this winter season tickets. There's going to be no excitement. Like you have done, to me, it's such a moronic philosophy, because there is light at the end of the proverbial tunnel, which there wasn't in the Metrodome, and yet they're still handling this, guys, like it's 1997.
Yeah, it kind of couple things. I want to come back to something Declan said about Cleveland and kind of overcoming. People always think that Cleveland is just this hodgepodge of randoms, and they are. I want to come back to that too, but the Twins have to make a decision here. Agreed. They are up against it in some ways financially that other teams aren't, because they don't have a massive $50 million TV money check coming in. And I know that people point to the Pohlad family is the 5th richest ownership family or whatever it is. But I mean, the reality is Major League Baseball organizations aren't running their businesses off of their net worth. They're running it off of the business and the net profit they can make. But they have to make a decision. Do you keep right-sizing your business going into 2025? That's not going to get fans excited. Guess what, guys? Hey, congratulations. We right-sized our business.
Right.
Come to Target Field and see how well we right-sized our business. Right. And maybe we'll win a game. We're not quite sure. We're definitely not making a meaningful trade at the deadline, though. Or do you do what the Padres have done over the years, which is, you know what? Let's play fast and loose at the poker table, and let's spend a bunch of money every other year, and let's make some crazy trades. And sometimes it leads us to the playoffs, and sometimes it doesn't. But you know what it does? It puts 40,000 people in that ballpark on average every single night. Like, they have to go back, especially if it ends this way, and people are left with this taste in their mouth. What do you want to do as an organization going into next year? On the Guardians front, Declan brought up a bunch of points about the way people perceive them, and we've joked about like the wind tunnels and stuff. Agree with that. But here's the difference between the Guardians and the Twins. The Twins lose Joe Ryan and Byron Buxton. Couple key pieces are Joe Ryan and Carlos Correa, and they melt down in the second half of the season. The Guardians lose all-star starter Alex Cobb and Cy Young starter from a couple years ago, Shane Bieber. Literally like two of the like probably the two best pitchers in their rotation on paper to start the season, right? And those guys gave you like 5 starts. And instead of tail spinning, they're going to finish with like 90 wins, and they're going to accelerate into the playoffs. Stephen Kwan goes down with 3 weeks to go in the regular season.
Right.
That's fine. We're still going to take a series from the Twins and close this thing out, right? Like, they plow through adversity because they have depth. They have an incredible pipeline of pitching. And when we talk about putting out rosters that can win 90 games with a shoestring budget, yeah, the Rays have been amazing at that. The Guardians have. And if the Twins want to be better at that, they need to find some things in their development. They need to find some things in their decision-making, that because they are not on that level of Cleveland and Tampa Bay organizationally.
We're the Rays and Guardians. So here's the dirty little secret that the Twins don't do. I'm almost glad, but if you want to play this game, you have to. And that is, as soon as a guy starts to hit contractual points where you cannot afford him or you think he's going to leave, you trade him. Case in point, Savali, right? Traded to Tampa. They get the guy that hit the home run a couple nights ago against Jack's back. Looks like a really good player. Well, I'm sure Guardians fans weren't thrilled, but like that's the step. Like if you're going to go down that path, like how do you become like, you got to look at how they do it. And I'm not saying it's right, but I am saying like they are, if this is a Guardians Rays plan, they're half-assing the plan. They don't really know what they're doing. Like look at the plan. It's nuanced. It pisses people off, but it replenishes. So like, if Sonny Gray is going to walk, right? Cleveland trades him.
Yeah, I know.
And gets it. But my point is, I don't want to do that. I just want you to look at your business and be smart about it. You are going to cost.
But they shouldn't have to operate on the budget that Tampa operates
I
on.
agree.
They should be afforded the luxury, and they do, keep Pablo Lopez around.
Right.
And go, if you're not going to, this is the thing, like, if you're not going to keep Sonny Gray, you should keep at least the head count. You should keep the $25-30 million budget
100%.
head count and continue to push forward into 2024. And they didn't. And that's what happens at the end of the season.
But as Dex said, the problem is Pohlad said, we want to run like that. Oh, okay, that's a different world, man. Like, if you want to run like that, you got to know what you're doing. And you got to be right a lot. And instead, I don't think ownership for 1 second looked at anything other than the TV contract being cut and said, okay, it's not great, but at least for a year, should we stay status quo payroll wise because of the success? And we want to, here's my question. You're saving a lot on payroll. What is it going to cost you in 2025 though, because of those decisions when it comes to ticket sales, merchandise sales?
Attendance will be down next year. It's
and
down this year. It will be down next year.
And it should be. But, so my question is, when you look at the ledger in January of 26, did saving on the payroll in 24 cost you just as much in 25 or more because you alienated a large part of your audience, which had just come aboard?
Yeah.
And they made that decision with cutting payroll because they also thought, I'm going to try to put myself in their shoes here, and why that's going to be okay is because they felt with Carlos Correa, Royce Lewis, the nucleus there, the top of their pitching still with Pablo, Joe, and Ober taking a step, that the way they performed in those 3 months in the summer where they were at 1.17 games over 500, that this is still a good enough team that people will still come back. And they didn't really show up all summer long. I was at the ballpark all season. There was a handful of games where it was good crowds, but I'll be honest, there was more sparse crowds than good crowds this season at Target Field. And now they're collapsing at the worst possible time, and there's a sour taste in fans' mouths to the point that Judd's making, and what I'm trying to say too is, I don't know what philosophy you're going to run into here that Eureka will get people back in the seats, not for a sellout on opening day, but for a May game against the Royals, for God's sakes. Like, I don't know what they're going to have to do here, and now they've made their own bed with that, and it's only alienated more. And they've been able to take punches from cheap poll ads and from Minnesota sports fans. Now it is at an all-time high, and I don't know how you just get that collection of people back overnight.
Yeah, I mean, again, if it ends this way, and if the playoffs start today, they would be in, and they would have a 3-game series, and Bailey Ober would be out there, and he's been lights out. So we have to see what develops in the next 10 days. But if it ends this way, and the Tigers play the White Sox for 3 at the end of the season, so that could be 3 guaranteed wins for them. We'll see if the White Sox care to play spoiler or if they even can. The Twins, really, it comes down to one of 2 things this offseason. Either you swallow hard and accept a financial loss in 2025 and add to the payroll, or a bunch of your young players step up in big ways all together and stay healthy in 2025. And I'm talking about Brooks Lee. I'm talking about a couple of these outfielders maybe that are climbing up through the system. Matt Wallner for a full season, not crashing on his face in April and not being available until June. Like, the guys who are between the ages of 22 and 26, largely not making any money, all coming together kind of like they did 20 years ago. Like, because I don't think they're going to go out and spend their way to a deep roster. Like, they need it to come from within, and that's not exciting for fans to hear. But you need Zebby Matthews to be in your rotation. You need David Festa. Again, if you want to go out and spend $25 million a year on a key free agent, that would be a pleasant surprise, like they did with Carlos Correa, $30+ million. But yeah, this thing, it also feels like there's just like weird vibes between Royce Lewis and the organization the last couple months. So this is, man, what a turnaround from 12 months ago. People in October last year, even after they lost to the Astros, were like, oh, the Twins, this is great. When can we do this again? when can we come back and do this at the ballpark again? And then the first message they're hit by in the latter part of October, early November is, we'd love to have you back, but we're also going to cut the payroll.
And the best thing that they could possibly do, and they would need to take a 1-year bath, but the only way that I see that you can get fans back from a PR standpoint as well off the field is you take your games off Bally's, you go to MLB, you get them in-house and lift all blackout rules. Like
kind of though, because but doesn't that have to coincide with a product that people are jacked about?
But
last year would have been the time to do that. Hey, guess what?
But yeah,
we're going through this thing, but we want to make these games available for you because we're riding high after the 2023 season. Let's all watch the Twins.
But the point is, you don't cut your payroll again because, oh my God, we're making less now. Now we're going to have to cut it again. You keep it at least the same, raise it potentially. And I do think if you're right, Phil, I do think if you bring up some of the kids, that if it's done correctly, it could spur some excitement. And I do believe, the one thing is, I think that some guys, especially that back end of the starting staff, because they're young, are getting great experience. So, I could see this becoming a fun young team, but you're going to have to make some concessions to, okay, it's a fun young team. Can I watch it? The TV thing to me is monumental because right now, it's blacked out. You can't stream games. You can watch on the app with a subscription on Comcast, but what are you willing to do to make this right, Joe Pola? That's my question.
But the thing is, the games are back available now on Comcast Xfinity, and to me, you have to have a product that people are super excited about, and they've they have fumbled that excitement window.
Yeah. Yep. But young people need to be able to watch the games at all. Right now, they are out of sight, out of mind for a lot of
if you're YouTube TV, YouTube TV or Hulu Live or whatever.
A lot of people just stream.
Well, that's what
I love
YouTube
baseball,
TV is. Yeah.
And I stream a bunch of apps and I do that stuff. But to Phil's point about the excitement and also just, let's be honest too, the state of baseball, I don't even know if they went to a streaming service that would just automatically flip a switch. Oh, we got the youth back. They're going to start watching baseball. That's also not a overnight process.
Right.
That would be years and trust and winning and external things that are out of their control.
But that's just a starting point.
But that starting point, then where is the end goal of where you want it to be?
You need a good everything starts with having a good, exciting baseball team that fans that creates demand for the product. They had that a year ago. Mm-hmm. They had that in October, November a year ago. So now they've got two major problems. They've got a team that's collapsing and they might not be willing to add payroll to. And then they've got everything that Judd's talking about with the infrastructure of how you watch baseball games.
The problem is, and this is where it's like an entire equation. The problem is this team was 17 games over 500 in August, and a lot of people didn't care about it.
Right.
17 games over. So you've got this is a monumental. My point is, I think that you might have to consider to make this business as viable as possible, taking a major step back in what you make to move forward.
Well, let me add one more thing to this too, in terms of just if we zoom out, bigger picture of this franchise. Last year, the end of the year was super exciting. The end of the year,
correct,
was super exciting. But on September 1st, they were 4 games over 500.
Yeah.
The division was, everyone else gave up on the division, but they were only 4 games over 500. They were going to make the playoffs, but it was just kind of dead. They start picking it up in September, and then they win that playoff series. But if you look at this franchise from 30,000 feet, if they miss the playoffs this year, it'll be the third time in 4 years they missed the playoffs. They've only won 90 games twice at Target Field. Now you could argue they were maybe going to win 90 and they were on a 90 win pace during the 60 game pandemic season. But it was 2010 they won 94.
Yep.
And then 2019 with the Bomba Squad, They've only won the division 4 times in the 15 years of Target Field. So just like big picture here, this is not. They've only been to the playoffs 5 times at Target Field. So it's not like they have that. Sometimes they act like they've got this. They act like it's the Twins from 2001 through 2010
right.
that Terry Ryan built, by the way,
right?
On an actual shoestring budget. But it is not a highly competitive franchise, big picture, at Target Field. So there's that. There's the TV stuff. There's the PR and the way fans currently feel about this baseball team. The attendance, the beginning part of Target Field, you're hitting 3 million. Then okay, we'll settle in around 2.5 million. Now you're like under 2 million attendance. It's just, how do you get this semi truck going back in the right direction long term? And then this year, how do you avoid finishing off this collapse in the next week and a half?
Those are all really good questions. Those are all fantastic questions. I'll think about those and answer them next week on Twin Show.
Oh, yeah. Did I already mention Renfest, or should I do that before we get to random?
You have not mentioned Renfest. Let's do that.
If you're looking for something that's not going to let you down, the Minnesota Renaissance Festival is here for you, and we're giving away a 4-pack of tickets on the SKOR North app, listener rewards section. Only 2 more weekends left for the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. You can win a 4-pack of tickets in the listener rewards section of the SKOR North app. Any final thoughts from you guys? Just quick question. Would you have pitched Griffin Jacks a 3rd day in a row?
Yes. At that
I
point,
would have.
yes.
I would have.
Stephen Bullock would have done that too.
Yeah, here's what
That dude
surprised me about
pitches, I
that.
say all the time.
What surprised me about that whole thing was Duran, I believe, threw 30 pitches on Tuesday. That's a lot of pitches, because he pitched the 8th and then into the 9th before being yanked. So when he came out for the 9th, I assumed everyone is fair game. And Jax wasn't. And I understand he had pitched more of late, but I would like to know where they draw a line. Like, because at times, I give him credit. At times in the series, it's felt like, okay, it's go time. We got to do things we don't do, right? But then in that case, they reverted back. Like, what would you say your philosophy is? Because I'm not quite sure.
I mean, I get that they're protecting a guy. It's not normal to pitch 3 days in a row, but it's do or die time.
Well,
it's a must-win game. And also, he only pitched once in the previous 8 days before the back-to-back. So it wasn't like he was every other day, and now you're going 3 days in a row.
Am I wrong to say that am I wrong to say that Duran throwing 30 pitches on Tuesday is a ton of pitches for him?
That's a ton of pitches.
It's a ton of pitches
for any
a
reliever. Yeah.
But then you bring him back, so I'm like, okay, it's go time. That's great. But
Yeah.
then they're like, and I mean, my God, Henriquez, I felt empathy for that dude.
Yeah.
He
it
was peeing
bad,
his
man.
pants.
He looked very nervous.
And I mean, I don't blame him for being nervous. That's an unknown to him. It's just, I don't understand the mentality.
Yeah. Well,
Baseball.
we'll see what happens
This
today.
should have been fun. This
See
month
what
should have been
happens today.
fun. Last month should have been fun. I hate this.
ESPN.com still gives the Twins a 72% chance to make the postseason.
Well,
So we got that going for them.
they are the one good thing as far as the pursuers. Detroit is playing well in the wild card race. Have you guys watched the Mariners the last 2 nights at all?
No.
Okay, they had a guy. So Luis Heel was on the mound on Tuesday night. He turned around with a guy on 3rd, and the guy took off. Heel turned around, threw him out at the plate. One of the dumbest things I've seen until last night. Arozarena at the plate, Rodriguez on 3rd. Arozarena lost his bat, flies down the 3rd baseline. Rodriguez, with time in, peels off towards the 3rd base coaching box. To which Chisholm says, "Hey, catcher, throw me the ball. Time's still in." Just tagged him out. This might be one of the dumbest baseball teams I've seen. I will say that. If I was an M's fan, if I was you, Phil, back in your time there, I'm glad you're back now, because you are back full time here now, right?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, I'm glad you're back full time.
Yes.
What
Thanks for asking.
I mean, my God, idiotic, just idiotic.
Glad we got that Mariners update there.
Yep.
I'm just saying there's some stupid baseball being played all around the league, and it's a playoff race for that final playoff seed.
We should just have Judd do like a random rant about a non-Twins baseball team for 3 minutes every single SKOR North Twins show.
I watch a lot of baseball.
Oh, man. I got a random twin of the week for you guys. So last week, Judd had his first victory in 2 months with Randy Bush.
Thanks for mentioning that.
So I have 21 wins. Declan has 18. Judd was 16. The last handful of random twins are Randy Bush, Otis Nixon, Nick Blackburn, Josh Willingham, Burt Blyleven, and Sergio Romo. So all throughout a series of clues, you guys get up to 3 incorrect guesses each. If one of you hits a third strike, the other one wins automatically. No Googling, but you can Control F search for previous random twins. Here we go. This random twin is a former 4th round draft pick.
Okay. Pretty high in this draft.
That's pretty high. This random twin never won a World Series, but he did win a World Baseball Classic gold medal. Let's see how well you guys know your World Baseball Classic history.
Yeah, well, that would be 0.
This random twin. Let's see, which clue do I want to give you next? Let's go with this one. While playing for the Pacific Coast League's New Orleans Zephyrs once, he was once involved in a fight with a teammate at a Nashville bar.
I love the fact that a New Orleans-based team was in the PCL. Because when I
Right.
think Pacific Coast, I think
New Orleans.
New Orleans and Mardi Gras.
It's hilarious.
A fight with a teammate.
You're literally like on the Atlantic. You're in the
Yes.
Gulf area of the
In the Gulf,
Atlantic, and
right?
you're in the
Yeah.
PCL.
Fight at a Nashville bar.
All right, this random twin
Sounders. Yep.
played in 376 career regular season Major League Baseball games.
It's not a ton.
Over 8 seasons.
Depends what he did. Depends. Okay.
See how well you can do math.
Well, I can use my calculator for. I don't even need to do math. Because I don't do math. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
Declan's trying to do the math right now.
This
No.
random twin.
He's blinking randomly. Yep.
Are you guys close at all here or not really?
I'm honing in on someone, but I want more clues.
All right. This random twin played for 5 Major League Baseball teams. The Blue Jays, the Twins, the Marlins, the Rangers, and the Giants. This random twin had a 1.93 career postseason earned run average.
Is this Sam Dyson?
Sam Dyson. Wow, Declan.
Oh, nice work, Declan.
The Dexter.
Nice work.
That's a great job right there by the
That's
Dexter.
very nice. Sniff that out.
Sam Dyson. I was hoping to get to some of the other clues here, but Declan sniffed it out.
Cats?
Well, I was gonna, that would have given it away. I mean, I was gonna give you the generally considered a bad human across Major League Baseball.
I would have gotten it.
Also, Jose Batista's famous bat flip home run to win the division round. This random twin gave up that home run and almost started a brawl after the game was over.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bro, you just got walked off. You guys have been jawing at each other the entire series. Just take a seat.
Yeah.
59 career saves, and we recently used him on the Immaculate Grid.
Yes,
Would have
we
been
did.
another.
But he was all ours.
That's the last time he ever pitched was with the Twins.
At first, I was thinking J.C. Romero, but then once you gave the teams, that was it. Rangers, Giants,
and
Twins. I was like, okay, yep,
Giants.
this is Sam Dyson.
So nice job, Dex. It'll be Judd's turn to throw out the clues next week. 19th career victory for Declan here. So, all right, we'll see. Twins have a day game today. Many of you, I don't know, maybe the game will be over by the time you consume this
Yeah, maybe.
therapy session that we just did.
Yeah.
But they They can't lose their wild card spot today, though. That's the good news because the Tigers don't play, and they have a tiebreaker. So they'll still be in playoff position going into the weekend. Let's fire it up, boys. Come on, Twins baseball. Bring on the Red Sox. No?
The Red Sox are struggling too, but I fear the Twins in Fenway. My God. That's a house of horrors, man. That's a weird place to play.
Yeah. And tomorrow we'll get you more Mariners updates here from Judd on the SKOR North Twins Show.
Dan Wilson, former golfer. What are you doing? Why is your team so stupid?
Dan Wilson, man. Anyways.
Great player. Loved him as a catcher.
Go Twins.
Barrington's
Go Twins.
finest. Kirk Cousins and him. Barrington, Illinois.